Viruchim haboim. Welcome everyone. We're about to begin Be'ezras Hashem together on Daf Ayin Hey Amud Beis. Starting with Daf Ayin Hey Amud Aleph, the first wide line. Rebbe says that one can roast the Korban Pesach in addition to the classic way, which is on a spit, used from the wood of a pomegranate tree. He says that a Korban Pesach can be roasted by putting it on hot coals. That's also a fulfillment of Tzli Eish, because Gacheles coals is a form of Eish. The Gemara challenges that, and the Gemara ultimately then supports what he's saying, and brings a pasuk from a Bas Kohen who's Mezaneh. There the Torah says, Be'eish tisaref, she has the Misas Besin of Sreifa, whereby the Gemara explains it's not necessarily that she's burnt by a flame, she's killed rather by a Psila Shel Aver. They pour hot lead down her throat. So we see Be'eish Tisaref includes other forms of burning, not limited just to a flame. The Gemara now challenges this. Omar le Rabbi Yirmiyah Rabbi Zeiro. Rabbi Yirmiyah asked Rabbi Zeiro, V'kol heicha dechsi Be'eish Tisaref l'rabois kol sreifos habois machmas eishu. Whenever it says in the pasuk Be'eish Tisaref, it comes to include all types of sreifos that come from a fire. Is that so? In regards to these Purim hanisrofim, these certain bulls that are burnt as a korban chatos, instead of the other chatos that are burnt and also partially they're going to be also eaten, here these are completely burnt, a Purim hanisrofim, and it states in regards to this type of offering, v'saraf oisoi al eitzim ba'esh. And the Brisa explains, what does it mean when the Torah says it shall be burnt on the eitzim ba'esh? V'tanya, be'esh v'loi besid roteach, v'lo begipsim roteach. Dafka by a fire and not by heated lime. So we see over there that it's not including all types of burning. It's limited to the eish itself. Omar lei. So on that, Reb Zeir says back to Reb Yirmiyah, Hachi hashta. Is that a good comparison? Hasam ksiv be'esh v'hoda tisarif. L'rabos kol streifos habos machmas eish. In regards to then the Bas Kohen who's Mezaneh, it states be'esh tisarif. The be'esh then is then saying tisarif. Dahainu, once it says a fire that will burn, it means any type of things that will burn because of a fire. However, over here, in regards to the Purim Nisrofim, Hachaksiv v'saraf oisoi al eitzim ba'esh. That means lebesoif eish. It says sreifa, and then it says eish. The memra, the eish in midiachrin eloi. That means that when it says it shall burn, and then it says eish, that means the type of burning has to be a fire, whereby it's specifically eish and not hot lime or anything else. The Gemara says, Hasam nami ksiva sreifa lebesoif. But even by Purim hanisrofim, it does say sreifa at the end, as follows: Dichsiv on top of ayin hey amid beis al shefach hadeshen yisarif. It states that you should then burn the Purim hanisrofim, the bull. You should burn it on the where the pouring of the ashes from the mizbeach are put. So you see the word Yisarif is stated at the end. Or Ma'amre, they answered, Hahu Yisarvi boile. We need this word Yisarif for something else. Like it states in the Brisa, Yisarif. What does it mean when it says Yisarif? Afalpisha ein shom deshen. Even if there's no deshen, we should lechatchila burn the bull where the deshen, all of the ashes are placed from the Mizbeach. However, if there's no deshen, it was taken away, it was blown away, it's not there, you shall still burn the Purim hanisrofim in that place. Yisarif, it says Yisarif to teach me also, Afal pi shehitzis ha'ur beruboy. Even if the bull is the majority of it is already burned, that's not sufficient. You have to completely burn it. And therefore, Yisarif comes to teach me that. Ravina Omar. Ravina now comes back to explain why Rebbe, who says you can burn the Korban Pesach on hot coals, when the Gemara asks from the case of saras. It states over there, there's a michva. There it says there's a type of saras, which is a type of saras that goes on a burn. From there, the Gemara had brought a brisa that because it says michva twice, there it comes to include other forms of burning, not limited just to eish. Mashma, that in other places, like the case in the Korban Pesach, when it says sli eish, there it does require a fire specifically. So here the Gemara wants to answer an additional answer. Ravina Omar, keruch vitani, michvas eish. That which the Brisa taught, michvas eish, it states, ein li ella shenichve be'eish ubegacheles. I only know that which the tsaras is found on a burn of a fire or from a coal. How do I know nichve beremetz, besid roteach, or begefisim roteach, or bekol dover abba machmas ha'ur, and anything else that comes from a fire? Lasuye chame ha'ur, that which was boiled water. Minayin, where do I know all of these things are also going to be included if he was burned in that way? And that's where the tsaras was found. It's also considered to be a fulfillment of this type of tsaras. Tamulora michva riba. There it states michva twice. So Ravina is teaching us that there's no kasha from this brisa, because we originally read the brisa differently. We read the brisa was saying, I only know Einli ela shenichva be'esh, psik. On that, then the Brisa went on to say, what about gacheles and nichva beremetz and besid v'chulei? Here now Ravina explains that the Brisa is not read that way. The Brisa has the word gacheles together with the first word of eish as follows. He says it's read nichva ela nichva be'esh ubechacheles. That means eish and gacheles does not need the ribui. Gacheles is included in eish. Rava comes to then ask a contradiction. Mi omar Rabbi gechalim ikru eish. Who said that Rabbi says that gechalim, coals, refers to eish? Vraminu. He wants to ask from the following brisa a contradiction. The brisa begins by bringing a pasuk. I want to quote the pasuk. The pasuk says, in regards to the avodas of Yom Kippur by the Kohen Gadol, v'lokach meloi machto gachalei eish. He'll take a shovel full of gachalei eish, of fiery coals, me'al mizbeach, from the mizbeach, milfnei Hashem, v'goymer. So now the brisa quotes these words. Gachalei, referring to the coals. Yachal, I might think, oimemois, I might think that they're already dimmed, these coals. Talmuloi mar eish. Therefore, the pasuk says eish, gachalei eish. The Brisa goes on to say, eish, if it says eish, yachal, I might think shal heves, I might think it has to be a flame. Talmuloi mar gachalei, therefore it says coals. Okay, so how do we then combine these two things? Maybe min haloi choshois, that the Kohen Gadol is to bring from the area of the mizbeach. He should take gachalei eish. These are gechalim, coals that are flickering. Says the Gemara, that's adkan the brisa. Now says the Gemara, there's an internal contradiction in this brisa, and the Gemara first explains the brisa before it asks its question. V'hagufa kasha. The brisa itself is difficult. Amriz gachalei yochalei mamos. The first part of the brisa states, I might think gacheles. The gachalei means the dimmed type of coals. Alma loichoshes eish ninu. Therefore, when it says loichoshes, it's referring to eish. It means fire and not coals. Ema seifa. However, in the seifa, it states eish. If it's fire, yachol shal heves. I might think it's a flame. Tamulomer gachalei. Alma afilu loichoshes lav eish ninu. That means loichoshes, flickering, is not considered to be eish. So we have a contradiction. At first, it seems to say gachele is, that loichoshes is eish, and then seifa seems to imply that loichoshes is not eish. Or marav sheish is hochiktoni. This is how you have to understand the brisa. This is how it was taught. Gachale, when it says gachale, yachal bein oima mois bein loichoshes. When it says coals, it means either dimmed or or flickering. Talmud Mar Eish. I might think it's either one or the other. Therefore, it says Eish in the pasuk. Eish. If it says Eish, then Yachal I might think Shalhefes, it has to be a fire. Talmud Mar Gachale. Therefore, it says Gachale. HaKetzad. How do we put these two things together? Maybe min ha'loy choshes, that the Kohen Gadol is to bring from the Mizbeach the coals that are flickering. Mikol Mokom asked the Gemara. Now the Gemara goes to ask its question. That which you said before, that indeed Rebbe is saying that you can go ahead and roast the Korban Pesach on Gecholim, because Gecholim is Eish. Ask the Gemara from this Braisa, Mikol Mokom Gecholim lo ikri Eish. We see that Gecholim is not called Eish, because Gecholim comes to exclude a flame. And after all, the fire, the Eish, is coming to exclude that which is just dimmed. So we see that Gecholim itself is not considered to be Eish. Kasha l'Rebbe, it's a kasha on Rebbe who said you can go ahead and make Sli Eish, the Korban Pesach, on Gecholim. Omar Abaye, Abaye comes and defends Rebbe and says, Taritz Hochi. You can explain the following. Gachale Yachol Oimemois V'Lolochoshois. When it says Gachale, I might think it means Oimemois, that which is Gachale, that is dimmed and not flickering. Tamuloi Mar Eish. Therefore it says Eish. So far that's the same as we saw before. Eish comes Abaye to explain, if it's Eish, Yachol, I might think Rotza Shalheves Yavi, Rotza Gacheles Yavi. He has the choice, the Kohen Gadol, to bring either that which is a flame or that which is a flickering type of Gacheles. Talmud Mar Gachale. Therefore it says Gachale. HaKetzad. How do we put the two things together? Explains Abaye. I'll read this Braisa. Maybe mina lachoshes. Therefore the Kohen Gadol brings from the Mizbeach the Gecholim that are lachoshes, that are flickering. Omar Rava, Rava asks, Rotza Gacheles Yavi, Rotza Shalheves Yavi. You're going to have such a Havamina that he can go ahead and bring either one or the other, either a flame or flickering coal. If it's Shalheves Beloy Gacheles, Heichimish Gachasla, how can he bring just a flame itself? What's going to be the case? Kigoin, it must be the Shafye Lemona, Mashcha, Va'atle Beinura. He smears oil on a kli, and from there's going to be a fire, a flame. Ask the Gemara, that's going to cause a lot of smoke. Why do I have to exclude that in order to then favor the flickering coals? Certainly, it would be flickering coals and not a shalheves, because the shalheves will cause a lot of smoke. If you wouldn't bring such a thing for a melech basav adam, then lifnei melech malchei amlochim hakadosh baruch hu lo kol shekain. Certainly, you're not going to bring something that's going to cause so much smoke, and therefore, certainly, we know it's referring to a flickering coal. Elo marave. Therefore, says Rav Taritz Hachi. You have to explain it this way. Gachale. When it says Gachale, it means Yachol Oimos v'loy lachashois. I might think only dimmed coals and not that which is flickering. Talmud Lomar Eish. Therefore, the pasuk goes on to say Eish. Eish, if it's Eish, Yochel, I might think Yavi Machze Gaches Mechze Shalheves. I can bring half and half. And when it comes inside, it will already be completely gacheles. It will be a flickering gacheles. Talmud Loimar v'lokach meloy hamachde gachale eish me'alam mizbeach. Therefore, the pasuk says that the Kohen Gadol takes a shovelful of burning, of fiery coals from the mizbeach. Mishos likicha nihave gecholim. From the time that he takes it from the mizbeach, it has to be already flickering coals. So that reinstates Rebbe that indeed gecholim, if they're going to be gecholim as we're talking about, this is a type of eish whereby you're going to be able to then go ahead and take the Korban Pesach and put it on these coals. It'll be considered to be tzli eish. Now the Gemara asks, just technically when it says oimemois, it can be spelled in two different ways. Ask the Gemara, iboilu oimemois oimemois, with an aleph or with an ayin. Or Rabbi Yitzchak comes to prove it's with an ayin. It says in the pasuk, arozim, the cedar trees, loy amamuhu, began Elokim. They did not become dimmened. In other words, they remained beautiful and did not become dimmened, and it's spelled with an ayin, began Elokim. So here we see that indeed Oimos is spelled with an ayin.